Hello, my narcissistic abuse family. I have a topic today that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but the reason why I've put it off is wildly ironic. Okay, so the topic, you'll appreciate this. The topic is about anxiety, and the reason why I've put it off was because I've been so overwhelmed by the amount of information. Irony. But you know what, man? This stack of papers regarding anxiety has been sitting on my kitchen table for like a month, and I can't take it anymore, so I'm just gonna dive right in. I might have to do a follow-up video to get into more details about the ins and outs of anxiety, but I'll just give a brief overview in this one. So if you're a victim of narcissistic abuse, this is so relevant to us. I know I'm not alone. My girlfriend was just diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. You know who you are. And I have so much anxiety, and it's something that I just recently started to appreciate because, as you well know, graduating through narcissistic abuse recovery, different stages, you really start to pay attention to yourself for the first time in your life, as opposed to putting all of your time, all of your energy, all of your attention on the narcissist the way they want it to be. So, actually, first I'm going to start out with a bunch of fun facts regarding anxiety, which I thought were pretty awesome. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the United States. Over 40 million American adults are affected by anxiety disorders. Women are twice as likely as men to develop PTSD. 40% of American adults have experienced an anxiety disorder at some point in their life. Only 1/3 of adults suffering from anxiety disorders ever receive treatment. Only 1/5 of teenagers suffering with anxiety disorders receive treatment. And the last one, anxiety disorders are estimated to cost society over $42 billion a year. So those are just some facts I want to kick it off with. In terms of victims of narcissistic abuse, if you come from a household where your upbringing involved a narcissistic parent, of course you are ridden with anxiety, because we were in a heightened state of hypervigilance 24/7. It was an over exercised state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn, as Pete Walker says in his book. Like when you have a narcissistic parent, the whole world has to revolve around them. And our feelings, our reactions to things were completely dismissed or tailored to suit their need. For example, if you were sad about something or you're angry about something, they would dismiss you and say, "Oh, you're too sensitive about that," or something to that effect, which is a way of completely invalidating your feelings. It sends the message that you don't matter and you are not entitled to be a living, breathing, feeling, thinking, autonomous human being. Absolutely. And in terms of emotional incest, I made a video about that. Your narcissistic parent probably sucked the life out of you because you were always appeasing them and, worried about what they were going through as opposed to your own feelings and emotions. Emotional incest is when, like, say, like, for example, I'll use myself as having a narcissistic mother. I always use quotes because nothing endearing applies to these people. But whenever she was upset about something, it would always be me, the child, consoling her. Like, it's absolutely preposterous as an adult to think back, like, oh my goodness, how was I ever put in that position? But that's what having a narcissistic parent does to you. So, in result, you're always, like, anxious. Like, you always worry about whether or not they're happy or they are taken care of. So, again, in result, you completely discount yourself and your own needs and feelings, and it results in unresolved emotions and feelings and being in touch with what you need and how you are entitled to respond to things. There's several solutions to anxiety. There's medication, there's counseling, and those are the big ones. But my biggest focus right now is being mindful. I am very aware of my present circumstances, and again, as victims of a narcissistic upbringing, as adults, it's very important for us to, sounds trivial, but it's super crucial. You need to take an assessment of your current conditions and to realize and accept that you are safe, you are an adult, you do have a voice, and you do have the means necessary to defend yourself and stick up for yourself. As a child, you're at the mercy of your evil parent. So you don't have the means to stick up for yourself. Nothing you say or do matters, and it is up for punishment by these erratic, awful individuals that are responsible for us. So, anxiety disorders are absolutely relevant to CPTSD, and that is what we suffer from coming from a narcissistic upbringing. CPTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder with the added C, which is complex, because of course all of our emotions, our mental, psychological state is involved. It's all very complicated, and nothing is untouched, basically. I mean, post-traumatic stress disorder in and of itself is a nightmare, but in relation to narcissistic abuse, the complex component is taken into consideration with the label. So, we were raised in a state of hypervigilance. You're always, and that's another indication of anxiety. Like, if you're jumpy, like loud noises or anything startle you. We were all born into this world. Babies have an inherent fear of loud noises. But if you're realizing that as an adult, you're a little more, like, usually it dissipates over time as you grow older. But if you realize, like, hasn't gone away for you or subsided, that's an indication of anxiety. So another indication of high anxiety is your breathing. This is something that I'm very mindful of. I meditate every day in an effort to be mindful, but your breath is an excellent indicator of your level of anxiety or hypervigilance. So breath is a way to regulate your physical state. So you don't even realize it, your body snaps into this fight or flight response, and you are like tense and you're stressed out. You don't realize it. A way to catch yourself is your breathing will be very shallow. So when you meditate, when you're being mindful, first thing they always tell you is to regulate your breathing. So breathe in for, say, a count of 5 or 6, hold it for a count of 5 or 6, and then breathe out, release it for longer than you took a breath in. So you would release it for like 7 or 8, as long as you can, because that helps to regulate your autonomic nervous system. These are just, again, I'm just briefly touching on things because I was super overwhelmed by the amount of information regarding anxiety. There is a whole slew of anxiety disorders listed in the DSM. Rightfully so, there's tons of them, but as victims of narcissistic abuse, this is absolutely relevant to us. I think more of us than not are impacted by it. I would venture to say we are all impacted by anxiety. So I hope I provided you with something useful. Please like, please subscribe or share with anyone that you think this would benefit. Hope I provided you with something useful. I love you all. I will be back with another video soon.